Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel. Hey, what is going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile with the Pop XP, and joining me for Crowdfunding Comics, we got my good pal, my co-host, Mr. Nefarious. Pew, pew,
What's up,
pew.
guys? Happy
What's going
Tuesday.
on, man? Happy Tuesday indeed. You know, it's
doing our
it's
thing.
Take two. Take two, my friend.
How'd the electricity situation work itself out? Did everything in your fridge not go bad? That's what I'm always terrified of.
Power was back on about like 11:30 p.m. or so.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm always terrified that everything in the freezer is going to thaw out and make a giant mess. I'm going to have to throw out everything I own. And
you just have to binge it, you know? Just smoke a little something, get the munchies, and then
that frozen pizza with the no electricity to cook it.
You just roll everything up into it when it thaws and make like a pizza burrito with like ice cream and half frozen tater tots and all that good stuff. But man, we got a good show, dude. We got some friends on tonight. I'm pretty pumped. You know, there's a couple CT guys, and we got a legend on in my eyes, a gentleman that, you know, man, he's like a freaking Swiss Army knife. Like, what hasn't he done? What can't he do? We've got another creator on that many of our viewers are familiar with, who's just, to me, is just an incredible talent. I mean, his art stands out. I don't know how he does it. It's simplistic yet complicated. I'm always in awe by what he does. And I'm pumped to look at their campaigns. I'm also pumped to just dive in, you know, like dive inside them, you know, get like really deep in. You know what I mean?
Pause.
Right? Yeah. Right? Just get that deep love.
With that said, why don't we bring them on now that everything's uncomfortable?
Let's bring them on for our first date. Everyone, please welcome back to the show. We got Narwhal in the house. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. I like your intro a lot. You know, my intro is just me apologizing for not having an intro. So your intro inspired me. So
thank you. And also we've got on tonight Mr. Frank Forte. What's up, Frank?
Hey guys, here.
Welcome.
Connecticut raised, LA living.
There you go, man. There you go.
My condolences.
I know, right? Hey, but I'm sure you're seeing you know, Adam's been posting some comic tours. Are those any shops that you frequent, Frank?
Oh yeah, I've been to all of them. Like House of Secrets I go to. There's Legacy Comics in Glendale. There's Secret Headquarters, the one Golden Apple. I mean, there is really a ton of them. Hopefully he's hitting all of them. Yeah, that other one in Eagle Rock that he hit with the video games, that one's really cool. That one just popped open. There's comics and cards over there too. There's like little shops and there's big shops. Yeah, it's very cool. A lot of stuff to do.
So there's a lot of comic shops and retailers out in LA and like around that area.
There's a lot. I mean, every little town has one. There's the Galaxy of Comics. Yeah, there's a ton. There really is.
Yeah, we just posted what was it, Emerald Knight Comic Shop or something?
Oh, that's with the Batcave, right?
I think so.
No, that's the one in it's in Burbank. That's a gaming store. They have a lot of gaming.
The one that Adam posted.
Yeah. That's
big
right.
Gaming store with an event space.
If you still out here, there's one down by Culver City that has like a bat cave in it. It's pretty cool. The guy built like a cave. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's probably over 20. You know, awesome. I think.
That's great. We have like 8 or 10 maybe. How many shops you got in your area, Narwhal?
Just one. It's a little more anime focused, but it does have some graphic novels and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, one thing before we start, you know, we dive in a little bit with Narwhal is I still can't get over fucking shit. Superman's first appearance sold for $6 million. 8.5, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
That's incredible. $6 million. Something to strive for, gentlemen.
Is this before they even established that he could fly? It's like he bounded or something.
This is when he leaps tall buildings.
Yeah.
In a single bound. But that's freaking crazy. You know what though? That sucks though. When you look at that, is like you look at all of these auctions, right, and all these books and what they go for, and all it does though is now it sets that collector market higher and higher.
Yeah.
But that's it. There's only like 100 known copies of this comic.
Really? Right.
Yeah.
What were those going for in the 90s? Was that like a $200,000 book in the 90s?
Probably in the 70s. It was like what, an $1,000 book, $800 book, even in the 70s.
Wow.
Oh,
I want to be like one of those guys that, you know, you hear like, oh yeah, this George was remodeling his house and opened his wall and there was a 9.0 Superman, you know, action #1 just mixed in with the installation.
yeah. Yeah, isn't there something like you can buy as an investment? You can buy like stock of one of these comics.
Yeah.
Like buy like a timeshare. So
Would you do it though?
Like the first page.
Would you do it if you had the money?
Diverse portfolio. I mean, it wouldn't be too expensive if like unless you're trying to buy just. I don't have 600 or 6 million, but if I had the money, I'd invest 20 G's or something.
If you had $100 million, would you go in on an auction to get a $6 million Superman #1 or Action Comics #1?
No, because I'd be paranoid that it's my own bias of why I think it's so cool. But I would invest in some weird shit. I'd set aside some money, like 40 mil, and maybe I'd get into gambling, sports gambling. I think so.
And then you broke in like 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
shit, I should have got that comic and just put it in a safe.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, are you guys any slab collectors? You into any of that?
Not me. You, Frank?
Not really. I wouldn't say it. I've sold a few slabbed books that I signed, some Bob's Burgers stuff, but I just think it's too pricey. Like I just like to read the books, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I'm not a slab guy. I have a couple slabs because they are investments, right?
Right.
But besides that, I've actually sold a lot of mine off. Pay bills, you know.
Well, that
that's why
controversy.
I don't gamble anymore, Narwhal. I just sell my slabs.
You could sell your slabs to gamble.
Exactly. I just sell my slabs so my wife wouldn't find out. But now, and then I thought this was crazy. 6 million and becoming the world's most valuable comic. That is freaking nuts.
You know what else? I feel like it's like a war between which comic is more valuable. The one I picture is that Spider-Man one where he's like this. But maybe that's not even close. But I'm like, that should be worth 7 million. Yeah. Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man should be 7 million. Superman should be 6 million.
Yeah, Cam says I have around 20,000 comics, 0 slabs.
0 slabs.
And then Nefarious says, "Hail, Cam." There you go. But all right, man, Narwhal. So you got a campaign up going on. Looks absolutely incredible. Earthbound Grand Prix Part 2. So this is the second in the installment that you got. And damn, dude, I freaking love your art. I know we've had you on a couple times and I always talk about it. Like, what is like you get like hints of anime in like your style, but it's so uniquely yours. How I think I've asked this before, but how did you find your style?
Yeah, it's definitely like influence from animation, but I specifically kind of found it from necessity from my first and only somewhat mainstream gig before Comicsgate. It was a book called what's it even? Machete Squad. And it was a journalist and a medic who'd come back from a tour in Afghanistan. He had taken like notes on his tour or like a journal. So they were converting it into a graphic novel, and they had a book deal, but their artist fell through. So then I had met the journalist at a convention a few weeks before and he liked my art. So we exchanged contacts. So he emailed me, but he's like, "We're going to lose this book deal unless we find an artist. Can you do it? Can you draw 120 pages and color and letter in a year?" And I was like, yes. But I had never done anything like that. So I was definitely scrambling. And the first thing I did, I was like, all right, I need to go digital and I need to go like a little bit more minimalist somehow. And my idea was like, I won't render with the ink lines. I'll render with the coloring a little bit with the lighting and stuff. But the lines are just going to be to hold the colors. So a lot more animation style is like they kind of do it that way. So I was like, well, it's been done. People do it. So that's what I'm going to do. And it took like a year of scrambling and working on that. But that kind of forged in fire this kind of minimalist style that I've been working with.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, no, it's nice, man. It looks really cool. Like, what's your if you're doing pencils and inks and colors, like how fast do you do a page? I'm curious.
Yeah, I can do a full page and color it in a day.
Mhm.
And it usually it's like 8 hours. It usually other stuff kind of. So I can't do like 360 pages a year though, because I'm just like responding to emails or something. I don't know what
Yeah,
happens, but it's
right. I know,
like how come it
distraction.
doesn't? The math doesn't add up. I should be able to do 360 pages a year, but or with even with days off, like 300. But I rarely get quite that high. But yeah.
What's the requirement? Like 3 pages a week, or like a page and a half a day if you're an inker? Or someone said something like that. That like you should be able to produce 3 fully drawn pages a week.
Yeah, well, it's funny if you're competing like against the olden days, they got three people doing one page and they might each spend 8 hours. So like, I mean, I don't know exactly if this is true, but yeah, it's like a full day for the penciler, a full day for the inker, and a full day for the colorist. And the art looks so great if they do that. But that's like a lot of labor going into one page. So it's hard to find one guy to like assemble a style that can sort of it can't directly compete, but in an apples to oranges way can kind of stand on its own or whatever.
Was Kirby like 3 pages a day or something?
Yeah, I think he was.
Did
But
he
he was
ink his own
fast,
stuff?
and I don't think he inked his work. But I remember in the 90s, because you were doing like 24 pages a month, you were expected to do a page a day, pencils and inks. And sometimes you had to do more because you had to get that stuff to the colorist. So you were really, you had to do it in shorter than 5, 10, 15, 20. Because if you did a page a day, that would be 4 weeks. You had to do it faster. I mean, people were working 12, 14-hour days to meet a monthly deadline. But then, I was friends with Tim Vigil, and Tim Vigil's like, he'll take a week to do a page. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't, nobody rushes Tim. Like he does it until it's good. Like he's got a different standard in the detail there. If you look at EO and Faust, but that's what I remember. I never worked on a monthly book, so I never had to do that grind. So, but that's what I heard.
Yeah. That's crazy. But you know what's cool though is like, and you know this too, Frank, from working in animation and everything. You see, like, there's these like stylistic stuff. They just had one. What was the one on Max they did? It was that sci-fi series. It's a very unique animation style, character design. And Narwhal, when I look at your work, right, I like see that. Like you could totally see that like adaptation, especially with your style of just that kind of, I don't want to say very artistic, style animation that I would love to see. I would love to see your work animated.
Thanks. Yeah, and I've been dabbling with some animation. I know, Frank, I checked your channel out. It's pretty awesome. There's a lot of really cool liquid television style animation.
Well, the Goon Cartoons thing, that's something I do on the side. I kind of learned Flash, but yeah, dude, if you Adobe Animate is what I use, your style would go really well. And, you just got to get in there and mess around with animation, do a walk cycle. And have you ever, if you storyboarded, just start out doing some storyboards and make the thing work. I'm sure you would. I feel like you'd ease right into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, now you've messed with animation though, because didn't you do it with Nosferatu? Didn't you do some animation with that?
I mess around with Blender. Frank, do you know that one? It's a little more. Yeah, it's more 3D, but you can do 2D with it too. So I mess with that a little bit, and for Grand Prix, it's actually low poly 3D backgrounds that I build, and then I snap the photos in the program I pick like the focal length and everything. And so then that's like kind of almost different. That's a little more animation oriented process where I love how animation kind of has a collage feel where the backgrounds are a different style than the characters a lot of times. Like the backgrounds are painted and then the characters are these flat cells on top. So I kind of had a feeling it might work to try and do it that way. And the first book I did that on was Foreign Agent, and I did that specifically because Foreign Agent was based on a movie script, so it had been written to be low budget to only take place in one house. And I was like, well, I can make this a comic. I don't know if I'll be able to make this a movie yet, but if I make it a comic, it's just one house, so I can build the house in 3D and then like treat it like storyboarding a film kind of is. So that one's like a little more cinematic with the style, and Earthbound is like kind of a little bit of that too.
And these are short films that you made?
No, just comics. I've done a few. Okay. Yeah, I've done a little bit of that, but not too much yet. Yeah.
Right.
Nice. And then you've had, Mark Millar has noticed your work too. Have you had any conversations with him? I mean, he's always, picked up on your style. He's, as you can see, we've got, a snippet here from X of him, scrolling through some art while I have my morning cup of tea, and stopped at this, wondering who it was. Of course, it's Narwhal, one of the modern greats. In bold, he puts one of the modern greats. I cannot tell you how much I love this guy's perspective choices.
So something's funny is I had to search for that tweet. So I remembered he had said one of the modern greats. So that's what I searched for. And that's why it's bold. So he didn't make it bold. I kind of made it bold because that's just what I would remember even or whatever. But yeah, we're like pen pals, which is great. He's awesome. And he has done a lot for, I think, sort of like healing the industry a little bit as far as just like being willing to talk to up and coming indies who may or may not have got passed over. Like I kind of consider myself getting someone who's like my timing was almost as bad as it can get, because right as I was getting good enough where I could have entered the industry, that's like 2015 where shit went crazy. So I was like relegated to indies, can't talk, like it's hard to make connections. Billy is someone who I through CG or whatever I am able to make connections with, which is amazing. But Mark Millar kind of kept those those like pathways open, and it's been awesome. But yeah, but mostly just pen pals. He'll be like, "You're doing awesome, kid. Keep going."
Yeah. Someone had asked him, and I remember seeing this on a thread on X. Someone asked, like, would you ever plan on working with Narwhal? And he was like, 100%. I would love to.
Yeah, that's sweet too. But that's also, I just can't go crazy from that because I'm like, what I tell myself is I think he has like 100 people he wants to work with. So I'm like, all right.
Oh yeah, but it's still cool to be in the pool.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome. So let's talk. I'm gonna play your campaign video, and then we'll talk about this whole story with Earthbound Grande Prix, where we were with part 1, and now where we are with part 2. But let's check out the campaign video.
Want an apprentice, and you chose Mags? Why don't you choose Narwhal? Narwhal is an actual genius. Like creative genius. He's not going to solve cold fusion. Why didn't you take Narwhal under your wing? You did it because you were trying to be political. You were trying to be cute. You thought you were smarter than the situation. You're smarter than these idiots. But come on. The idea that your first book you're ever going to put out is going to be award worthy is kind of ridiculous. Usually people win awards for actual merit, not identity, after 5, 10, 20 decades of work. But of the work that's been produced, I would really only say it was like Narwhal stuff. Like Narwhal definitely seems like the type of person who should be nominated in a short story or anthology category. A lot of his stuff is just flat out brilliant, like savant level work. So Narwhal is someone that I think actually does deserve award nominations. But as far as I know, Narwhal has only worked in crowdfunding, which is apart from mainstream, both for awards, for press coverage, for basically everything. Now, should crowdfunding come up with its own awards? No. Just put out books, deliver the books, make good books, improve in your artistry, in your skill, in your delivery, and in your customer service. Don't worry about mainstream awards.
I don't know. If my opinion matters, we need to make sure Narwhal's taken good care of. He's got a lot of good books. He's going to continue to make good books. And in my opinion, he's a fucking genius.
So yeah, just me editing together the various times people have called me a genius, putting it in a folder. It's actually kind of embarrassing.
Great self-promoting.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a meme. I just say it's a meme. But what's funny is if we were in, it was the eclipse. It's like maybe we shifted back to the timeline where Berenstein Bears is spelt Berenstein and not Berenstain. So people were checking, and it's like, nope, we're still in the weird timeline. The weird timeline, I think it happened when Harambe got shot. But in the right timeline, I maybe am Sean Gordon Murphy's apprentice. Like that was another future where that might have actually happened, but we're not. That's not in the world we're in right now.
We know it's the weird timeline because I've never seen anyone use Joe Farago for a pull quote before.
Yeah.
And Cam says, I said it before. If Narwhal was in if Narwhal was in different circles, he'd have an Eisner.
Thanks, Cam.
That's some great praise right there. Oh, and we got
I gotta ask though.
Just call me insane. Hey, sorry, real quick. Just call me insane's in the chat. Her sign up for the Pumpkin Prince is up. So on Kickstarter, if anyone wants to check that out, do so.
I just gotta ask. Earlier, there was a comment made in the chat about your stance on bookmarks, Narwhal. Can we get some clarification? Are you pro or anti bookmark?
For Twitter, yeah.
I mean, in general, how do you feel about bookmarks like that you use in books, bookmarks for Twitter, bookmarking pages on the internet? Just
the whole bookmark culture.
Yeah, I think I'm pro bookmark, right? If it's a point with, I'm not into dog earring pages. I know Donald's into that. He's a psycho.
He's a savage. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, at least he doesn't like the pineapple on pizza. That would be that'd be it for me. You know,
with
don't know if
Twitter,
I could affiliate with him.
With Twitter too, for 1 year I paid the monthly fee. I was like, I'll support what Elon's doing, and I feel like they didn't do anything, and they didn't give me I don't know, so I didn't play it the second year. But then I realized what they had done. They let you put your bookmarks in folders, and I was like, oh, that was very nice. But that's not worth $7 a month. But that was very.
You know what? Maybe we need to add yet another faction to this, the ever-growing field of crowdfunding extras. We need to add Team Folder. What do you think? I mean, we have Team Sticker and Team Bookmark. How do you feel about Team Sticker? Are you pro sticker?
Yeah, I like stickers. You know, the one I kind of don't like quite as much is trading cards. Everyone loves trading cards, and I'm like,
Yep.
You know what? I'm into mini comics though. That's my latest.
I've actually been seeing. There was a really cool. I went to an indie comics creator convention. I was actually here in Connecticut just a couple of weeks ago, and what one of the people had at their table was this tiny little mini comic, which was a character guide. So it was like the picture of the character and just a little brief summary, and it was a small. I thought it was genius. Right. Very easy to make, inexpensive, a lot of good content in a small package. So I agree with you. I think mini comics are going to be a wonderful little add-on or extra or stretch goal on campaigns in the future.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about trying to do eventually too, but I kind of have to get to it. But a bonus comic that is like a secret ending that ruins your story, but it's non-canon. And the influence would be like from Silent Hill 2. They have a secret ending where you like enter a spaceship and there's a Shiba dog or whatever, Shiba Inu dog has been pulling levers, and the guy goes, "It was you the whole time." And the dog comes up and like licks his face or something. I'm like, oh, that's funny. They totally just ruined the story, but as a joke.
You should do that. Do it in the next campaign.
I will. I got to get to the end of a story. So maybe Cerberus I can do. I have the real emotional good ending, and I'll have like a ridiculous stupid ending.
It would fit if you had a Shiba Inu pulling levers in that book too. That would fit the whole setting. Yeah.
And then I think you need to talk about Team Pogs. We need Pogs back.
They're relegated in the far corner. Yes. In the shadows.
Someone did Pogs.
Yeah, Clint Stoker.
Clint Stoker did the Pogs. Frank, you gonna do any Pogs? Asylum Press Pogs?
Pogs? Those things coming back?
I'm gonna make them come back.
No, they're never coming back. No.
When it comes to all that promo stuff, I don't really like getting any of that stuff with my books. I don't even know what to do with it. I got a stack of all this junk. The one thing that Asylum does, I like giving away stickers because I feel like people could stick it, and it's something that they could put somewhere, and it almost works as a promo item. So I do throw that stuff in there because it's kind of like usable and people like stickers. But bookmarks and trading card, I did a trading card once and I had it produced, and then it got lost in the mail, and then I was like, I had to give the money. I'm like, it's too much extra stuff, I think. You know?
Yeah, people love it though. People love all the tchotchkes, as they call them.
It's true. We're actually working on fusion technology, kind of like just like the next level in crowdfunding stretch goal merch, and it is the Magna sticker mark. It is a magnetic bookmark that has one side where you can peel it off as a sticker. Nice. So I've already trademarked it, guys. I've already been working on it.
Brilliant.
A magnetic sticker mark. Yeah. A Magna sticker mark.
You heard it.
We're
Here
we
first.
like legitimately. You will see it on my next campaign.
That I'm holding you to it, man. I want to see this happen.
You got to buy that domain, magnusticumart.com.
Okay, I can do that right now. I guarantee nobody has that.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Norwal, man, tell us now. Now let's talk a bit though about anyone that is not familiar with this series. Let's talk about Earthbound Grand Prix.
Yeah, so Earthbound was my first book, and it had a little groundswell of word of mouth led by your boy Zach, and I quit my day job at the deli because he gave it a good review and it sold out overnight. And then so I put out the sequel, then finished that first arc, and then what Grand Prix is, because Earthbound is all about recruiting warriors for this thing called the Grand Prix. You're not even sure exactly what it is in the first book. It doesn't do the world building to like explain it. It's just the word. And I knew I wanted the sequel to be about that, but so I was like, all right, it's a fighting tournament. But then the question is it one of these top secret clandestine fighting tournaments like in Bloodsport, or is it like a fighting tournament where everyone's watching and more like gladiator style or whatever? So I went for the clandestine angle, and it's loosely structured like Enter the Dragon, because I don't want it to actually just be like a fighting tournament story, although I'm sure that could kind of work. But it's more of a spy story. Someone goes undercover into the fighting tournament, Wiz Kid specifically, to kind of figure out this murder mystery that's kind of been going on in the background of the tournament. So this is going to be a 6 issue, and they're double issues, so it'll be pretty much the same length as the first arc, which is 2 big trades. If you read them in one sitting, it's like watching a movie kind of, and those scripts are originally movie scripts too, so it's just like that's kind of how I learned to write, and that's kind of my writing style. So Grand Prix is just another long adventure, kind of cinematic in that way too. Like it takes place over like 3 days. Like it's not exactly epic as far as like a big sweeping world building type thing. It's like they go into the Grand Prix and we see what happens, and then it ends kind of thing.
Oh, very cool. How many parts to this arc?
So this one will be 6 double issues. So we're on 2, so we're 1/3 through now when this comes out, and and part 3 will be like later this year, early next year. So it can go semi-steady clip, but not as fast as we're all hoping. Like we're talking with the 90s or whatever, just because I got other projects too here and there. But so yeah, so it'll be, and that will be, this complete arc will be finished. And there will eventually be another sequel to this, but they're more like Indiana Jones than they're like Star Wars, where like you could read them all individually, and it's not there, and they have the same characters, but it's not like the canon is super important from one of these stories to the other. And then the last little thing about the pitch too is there will be eventually, from Grand Prix Part 1 or Earthbound to Grand Prix, there's a 4-year time skip, which is kind of a story trope in its own right, where you kind of pick up where your characters are and they're all in different spots and they're all going to reconvene at the Grand Prix. But I kind of wanted to know what happened in those 4 years, so I wrote all that too, and that's called the Earthbound Gaps. And those are more short stories, but it's another 300-page graphic novel that covers the 4 years between Earthbound and Grand Prix. So that will eventually come out too. So when it's all said and done, this is going to be like a 1,200-page sort of an epic, but not exactly. And it's like more like Indiana Jones, like I say. But and I don't know exactly if it ends the way Indiana Jones ends, is like they just ride off into the sunset. Talking about Last Crusade, they literally ride off into the sunset, and then that's the end. I was like, it will probably end, something like that, because I'm like, how do you
already told us how it ends?
Yeah,
you told us it ends with Shiba Inus pulling levers.
Yeah, or if I ever get that far, it can end with Shiba Inu pulling levers. Or another kind of troll ending would be like, because there is kind of a Dragon Ball Z little bit of a power structure within the world building, where we're usually focused on the lesser power beings, but there are like godlike beings. And Wiz Kid could eventually, like, not that he gets that powerful, but he gets to talk to the most powerful one with a little bit of leverage. And they'd be like, well, what do you want? And he's like, I want there to be no death. And they're like, okay, well, we have to rewrite the entire universe because it's based around death existing. So we'll have to like figure that out. And he'll be like, well, do it then. Figure it out, because I want death gone. And then that would be like, it ruins everything, and then that is the end.
Or you
Dude,
could
now-
have him like wish to have his hair change colors at whim.
Yeah,
right?
he just
Yeah.
gets some wishes.
with
That's
his
all.
moods,
Right.
the mood hair.
Mhm.
But now with this, so you've got on Indiegogo. Are you crowdfunding this on your own site, any other platforms?
Fund my comic.
Yeah, it's also on Fund My Comic and on this
He's
one.
killing it over there.
Between the two, it's getting close to 10K, to 5 figures, which is nice. And it's got a couple weeks to go. I mean, you know, we'll see where it ends. But yeah, a few more backers before we close out would be great. I'm going to have a cool little closeout stream with Rini, I think, on the 24th, which is
Oh,
a
nice.
Wednesday. So keep that in mind, everyone, too. But yeah.
So you're running them at the same time.
Yeah. I've tried both ways, or I tried it one then the other, and that was fine too. This time I'm just for the heck of it trying both at the same time.
Have you tried Kickstarter, or are you an anti-Kickstarter guy?
No, I love Kickstarter, but I haven't tried it yet. I want to. I can't. I did it. I'm like too lazy. It's like I set up 2 campaigns. It's like it takes a half a day or more clicking around,
Yeah.
resizing images to the right size to be able to upload. And then I'm like, you have to do it all again. I'm like, I don't want to. I'll maybe.
I wonder how. I bet you your books would do good on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Because
I think-
anything that even like remotely has any like anime style things like that seem to do really well on there.
Yeah, I really should, and I will soonish. Like this year, I'll do a test, like in earnest, legit campaign on Kickstarter and see.
And you could even try to run a book that you already did, that you just slap a new cover on it, so you don't have to go through the process of like finishing the book. Just try it. You know, it's already done. See what
Then you can fulfill quickly too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just get your
you can
print
fulfill.
order.
Kickstarter.
That's a good
alternate.
idea.
He's
I
like, that's
tried-
a good idea, but I just don't want to make the campaign.
I know the one thing, it only takes 4 hours, but I hate it. I just did my taxes this morning, and that's like that same
Right.
energy. I'm that kind of stuff. Clicking around on the computer, I'm not good at it. I hate it. It's like, I don't know. But
So what's the goal for you? Because you do the comics full time, right? That's your full time gig.
yeah.
So
Knock on
what's
wood.
you've grown like in the CG atmosphere pretty well. You're a big name in it. Are you looking to like expand outward, try to get more reach?
Absolutely. Although I'm not exactly sure how to do that, but when I finish Cerberus, because part 2 is coming out later this year, and that Monica McCagney is the artist for that, and I'm just the writer. And that one I feel like is like the most mainstream of anything I've done. So I'm gonna try and like ask around a little bit at that point. You know, I might even ask Mark Miller. I'll be like, hey, do you know anybody? Can I like send this to someone, see if it can get published or whatever? But
Cerberus kicks ass, man. It does.
oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it does. All your stuff's really good, dude. It really is. I know me and Tucci have talked about your stuff many times. You know,
Yeah,
we really
that's
just
cool.
dig your style, and you know, I know you're like you want something more mainstream, but you know, I think your selling point is visually, I think, is the masterpiece you put together. You know, and I've seen people, you know, there's you know a bunch of a-holes out there like, oh, the art sucks, this and that, but it's like, do you know art? Like, do you understand like the complexity of the simplicity here? And like, because I mean, you can tell, you know, based on your proportions, on how you know set perspectives and things, like it's all there. And the designs to me again are just so I just love how stylistic it is. Like it's just
the
so
staging.
it's the
and the
state. Yeah, it's
perspective
just
in the panels. Like you can tell he knows exactly what he's
Yes.
doing, even if he purposefully doesn't draw a straight line, which is what I
but
find
it makes
the
sense.
most maddening about him. Like he does it on purpose, you know, like he
Yeah.
does the gestural, you know, distortions and
Picasso
like
over
the
here.
lines that aren't. Yeah, it's absolutely like that, and you
Well,
can
there's
tell
so-
he's doing it purposefully because
Yeah,
there are
there's-
times when he's more reserved, and then there are times where he's just like, I'm going to draw that thumb 3 sizes bigger than it should be, you know, but it's really when you're looking panel to panel and you're seeing how he's laying out his panels, the angles that he's coming from, the distance that he's varying, the characters and their positioning, you're like, this dude fucking sees it. Like, you know, that's why they call him a genius.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And yeah, I still want to keep getting better, but that's the things I focus on for sure is perspective. I'm kind of obsessed with perspective. The thing that's crazy, it took me a while to even realize, and that this was the point that I kind of got obsessed, but it's like, I guess it's like focal length, and it's like if you do 2-point perspective, it's how close the vanishing points are to represent a right angle. Because it can represent a right angle. You can put them right next to each other and it would be a really sharp V. and that can still quote unquote represent a right angle, but it would just be extremely distorted, and that could be correct perspective for a distorted angle. And so that like that shit was blowing my mind, and I was like, oh, this plays into like storytelling too. Like you can go way more a long focal length, and it flattens everything out. Yeah, the person I see the most who does it in like a storytelling way, rather than like sometimes they'll do it in a composition way, or like a little different, or sometimes they'll do it in a lazy way, which is not always bad. They'll do it like the easiest way to get it looking good. But Magnola does it where he'll use both, and it serves the story, and it's pretty sweet when you see read his pages, how he switches the perspective constantly. That's like, you know, film does that, but you don't see it too much in comics. I know with comics too, like American 90s, like Jim Lee style, like it's always more or less long focal lengths. They almost never do like what manga might do more, or European style. They can just do the straight up. It's almost like 180 degrees, like what our eyes see kind of thing. That's like a wide angle. And that's where you have like, it does look semi distorted and kind of dynamic. And there's like pros and cons, but yeah, that gets pretty like nuanced to like think about and have fun with.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's really cool what you do, and the thought you put into how you lay everything out with these abstract worlds that are so complex, so simplistic, yet everything you do, you can clearly see makes perfect sense.
I think
it does look really cool. I think, you know, you might want to do mainstream, but, you know, you might just always live in the indie world, and like that's okay. If you could just put stuff out on a regular basis, you would build a huge fan base, because it's kind of like manga, but it's American. It's hard to explain. It's like its own thing or something, you know, like there's that, you guys probably read like or watch French anime, or there's like that French style that's a little Mobius, but it's a little manga, and it kind of reminds me of that in a way, but still it's got its own vibe. Like
that French stuff, like band SNA even, or whatever, some animation, that's like what I'm trying to do pretty much. Like I just love that stuff. And if I could, I would just basically rip it off completely. And in any way that my style is like slightly different is just cause whatever, just an accident.
Yeah, that is awesome. And then what we had a comment here. Here we go. Yeah, a guy in his room. I always knew it was a stylistic choice that he does. I have little interest in the standard super detailed superhero style now.
Yeah. Real quick, Zed asked do I have any place where you could buy my books? There's a Narwhal Comics eBay store. So it's kind of limited in the inventory, but I'll ship off some extra books there. I got a guy on the East Coast who's helping me with it. A retired guy is just helping me out basically. And we talk on the phone once in a while, and he's funny because he told me just offhand, because he's like a collector, so he always gives me the collector like point of view too. But he said he has every Spider-Man, which I think he has amazing, you know, #1 even or whatever. Right. So that's like, he says that's going to go to his wife when he dies. And I don't know how much that's worth, like that collection of every single Spider-Man, but I think it's like, you know, it's a couple million at least or something.
Oh, that's crazy. And Michael Bancroft, I posted this comment up, says, so this is where the cool people are hanging. That's right, man.
That's right.
That's right. But yeah, dude, this looks awesome. And for everyone, the link for these campaigns are in the description below. So feel free to check it out. If you're not familiar with this campaign yet, you can go in there. You can check it out, dive in deep. You can look at the past campaigns he's done. Head on over to Narwhal's eBay store if you want to grab some other books that he has that have already been published and are out. And just incredible stuff here, man. I truly, dude, you're one of my favorites. Definitely love what you put out. I'm so jealous of how you draw. Always like, you know, my drawing is like typical fucking comic, you know, looks like a fucking regular comic, but your shit is just amazing. I wish I could find that style format.
Yeah, thanks.
So you're never coming back on my show. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome, dude. Thanks for hanging out with us and talking about this. Very cool. What's the next campaign after this?
Good question, because I got a few, like I'm working for a few people, and then like another Narzak or whatever. It's not like a secret or anything. And then I got a few I'm testing that I might try and do. But then it's like, yeah, Cerberus Part 2 is kind of the next big one on the docket coming later this year, which will finish the story.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, Frank, man, you, I know me and you, we've chatted and some things, and, we've talked a bit about like the Ed Piskor stuff. That's been like something on your mind.
Yeah, it was really depressing. I don't know when I found out about it. I mean, I never met those guys, but like I watched the channel like a lot of us do. And there's a lot of negativity on YouTube and people like to bash stuff. And those guys it seemed like they were just positive and geeking out about comic books. And I don't know, I'm sitting here, I sit in my studio. Like I used to work, when I worked in animation, a lot of times I would go into a studio and it's very communal. But since COVID, a lot of animation studios, everybody works from home. And when I do live action storyboards, I definitely work from home a lot. So here I am in my studio alone. And those guys were kind of cool to listen to. They geeked out about 80s, 90s comics and reading Wizard and like, discovering Paul Pope when he came out. Like stuff like that is like stuff that I geeked out about. And I don't know, man. I was really depressed and I cried a couple times and like, I don't even know him. I felt like I know those guys. It was weird. It was bizarre. I don't know.
Yeah, New York Times, they finally, what are we, a week and a half now since he took his own life, and they finally did an article on it. There's no new information in it, but, it just kind of depicts everything, that there were some allegations. But what I find interesting is, this whole thing happens, right? And it's, kind of probably influenced by, the Me Too movement and all that stuff where people are calling out, but, accusation was made, and then another woman comes out of the woodwork and says her story, and that's kind of where it like stopped, right? Like those were kind of like the allegations, and then I don't know what else happened that he was getting that it went to this extreme route, but it's like this whole thing turned. Like it went from like attack on him to like now he's almost like a national hero in comics, and everyone's like praising this guy, and I personally think he got a fucking bullshit deal on this, because all these these minimal accusations come out, right? And the thing that bugged me the most about this is like snippets of these conversations were had, but there's no context because the girl like put text all over them. Like just show the whole conversation to actually see what led to these comments. So like no one really saw what happened. There's no actual context, which he says in his suicide letter. And man, I followed him on Facebook. I was like driving and I was in traffic at like 8:30 in the morning and I saw that thing. And I was like, holy shit, this is a suicide note. And I even called his number like, man, is this guy really going to do this? He put his number on there. I called him to try to be like, see if I get a hold of him, which it didn't, obviously. But I think this is a really intriguing and weird situation, because it's just like, I met him in person. It was kind of awkward, whatever, who knows why. But, I got kind of weird vibes from him. But this here, man, I don't know. Rob Liefeld did a Robservation dedicating it to him. And if you listen to that, Rob cries in that thing. Like he's legitimately sobbing. He had me in tears,
right?
Talking about this. So it's like, did someone really die from cancel culture? Like what? I don't know. Was he not mentally stable enough to handle something like that? Like it's just crazy what happened in literally a span of a week. I don't know. It's fucks with me. It's literally fucked with me this whole time, and it's honestly kind of made me personally change like my view on things. Like I look at everything now, and I'm like, really, is that worth it? Like, are we dealing or saying things, negative things to people that might really actually be mentally unstable enough that they can't handle it, and next thing you know, you're feeding to someone's demise? I don't know. It's just fucking fucks with you. Excuse my language.
Yeah, I know. It's I never really engaged in any like talking bad about people on social media. I really just post my stuff. I share people that I like, and I, hey, this is what I'm doing. But I never got into that. I don't know why people did. It's bizarre. I just never was raised to like, I don't know, talk bad about people, not to their face, only behind their back maybe, but not when there's a record of it. But I don't know. I never really like did that, but I felt really bad. Like it all seemed to happen so fast. Like a lot of people were like, I wish I reached out to him, but maybe
I don't think there was enough time.
Anything. I mean, I sent when I saw that early in the morning and I read it, I was like, no, this is no April Fool joke. Like, 'cause I had a good friend of mine who committed suicide just about a year ago. So it brought that up. I go, this is a real note. And I messaged him on Facebook, but I didn't, he doesn't know me. So he's probably like, who's this? But it was just depressing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just seemed like it's taking. And Narwhal, I mean, you've been a part of, especially like CG and stuff for what, 6 years or so?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more. I mean, obviously there's a lot of drama that's happened. It was like fighting, kind of like fighting the good fight, just like, let's make entertainment fun again. Right. Let's just try to get back to whatever. And then now we've come to a point where it's like, almost like, this is my opinion from what I see through my feeds and everything. It's like there's not really too many, let's say, like SJW people really interacting anymore. So it's like, who do we fight now? Let's fight like other people within the circle. And it just seems like there's this, I don't know, there's just like a really muddied waters thing now. And then you get something like this that happens and you kind of want to be like, all right, maybe there were some serious accusations. You can't fault someone who feels a certain way. I get it, in that regard. I'm not a woman. No one's going to do anything to me. Plus I'm a bald man. But, like, it's just, I feel like we should be uplifting each other. Like really just embracing like creators and creativity and trying to be more positive, like when are we going to hit the stride of let's try to actually be positive for once?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm not really happy with a lot of the way things are going lately, of like what you described it pretty accurately, how I see it too. Just too much drama, I guess, something like that. Too much, yeah. But how you get out of that with new habits of being more positive for one, yeah. I don't know. I've followed your boy Zach's coverage of it, and I think he's striking a pretty good balance where he was even going over Ramon Villalobos's tweets, and like there were ones that are objectively explaining the situation, which it is spreading these that's kind of contributing to the mob in some ways. But your boy Zach's like, this is actually okay. He's just being objective. But you can see when he starts to not do that, when he starts to call him a pedo and he calls anyone who defends him a pedo. And then he points out in the actual letter from the girl, she says he's not a pedophile, and I don't want him canceled. He was just a creep. That's literally word for word what she says.
Yeah.
And that's like more like that can be objective or whatever. And that can be dealt with, but not, the fact that he was basically killed, like the way he wrote it, he identified his murderers, which are these bullies on the internet. And then I do appreciate anyone on both sides who does reflect and then say something along the lines of, if they need to say anything, just like Zach Morris, I think said, like, he's like, I feel bad or I feel terrible because I did jump on that mob a little bit and I was wrong, or I'm like, damn, that's like pretty cool you could say that, because a lot of people double down and that's like disgusting, I think, when people were doing that.
Oh yeah, they were like doubling down on what they did, and some people like protected all their socials, right? The accused, like, I don't even think you can see their feeds. And some people were just like trashing the shit out of them. Then when they saw like, oh shit, I think I actually killed himself, then like their whole narrative changed. But it's crazy. But it's, I bring it up again too. I know me and Frank were talking about it, and I've seen so many creators that are like reflecting on this. Like this has hit so many people personally, and it's almost like was this like his, he couldn't take what was happening, so this was like his great final art piece,
Mm-hmm. I did think that I don't know if it's funny, but the suicide letter can be read that way. It can be read as like a really good piece of writing, especially in context of the fact that it is a suicide letter, which is crazy. But I don't know if it's like, it's too soon almost, to look at it that way. But
yeah, it's craziness, but it's a sad thing that happened. I don't know. I mean, Frank, did you have any more thoughts on it? I know you were.
I mean, yeah, I just think it was really, I don't know how to get something positive out of it, or somehow come out of it. Like, I just felt those guys were really, like, I drew a lot of comics in the 90s, and I came out to LA, did storyboards where, I never made much money in comics. So, I worked in film and animation where I got a job, I got benefits, I was in the union, and I still dabbled in comics. And maybe I did one book a year, or one story a year. I had some stuff in heavy metal, but I just realized I couldn't make a living at it. And here's a couple of guys that are basically indie guys, right? Alternative guys who are now working for Marvel and DC. Like, they made the whole indie alternative thing work, and they're getting book deals, and they've got a show. It's like everything they did was like breaking the rules and making it work. And it kind of got me like excited again, like, holy shit, maybe I can like do comics. Like, I have more of a horror style. Like, just listening to them, it got me positive and optimistic and everything. It was just like, these guys are like a couple of geeks, like, talking about comics, and they work in the business, and they're successful, and they're alternative. It's like everything they did was like not the norm. Mm-hmm. So like, to have him go out like that was just a hit, man. I think a lot of people felt it,
Yeah, it's definitely unexpected. I think people thought there'd be some type of rebuttal. There was silence. Maybe he was getting his legal team together. Who knows? Yeah. And then that thing happens. And, then, of course, I don't know, Jim Rugg, I kind of like, really, bro? Like, stand behind your friends, stand behind your partner. I don't know, who knows what that was.
That was a bitch move.
Yeah, I think that was a bitch
move to say, I'm reevaluating my professional relationships. I mean, okay, that might mean that you're not going to be doing, cartoonist kayfabe anymore, and your professional relationships and your personal relationships aren't necessarily the same thing. But, bro, you've been having this guy's back for how long? The two of you have been feeding each other and boosting each other up and doing this thing for how long? And someone comes along and makes an allegation, and within the space of a week, you're going to be like, nah, we can't work together anymore? You're a bitch.
Yeah. Be like, look, if he did something creepy, just be like, yeah, he did something creepy.
Don't say anything.
Didn't go any further
just
than that.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, oh no.
Don't say anything. The whole problem with all of this, I'm sorry, you guys got me. The whole problem with all of this is that it's aired in the public square because people want attention. Yeah. You spew it out into the ether, into the internet, so that everyone who's listening to the internet can gossip about it, can talk about it. That's where the allegations first appeared, right? Like, this person didn't seek any sort of emotional assistance. They didn't go to the police. There wasn't a crime committed. There wasn't anything committed. They publicly present these allegations to cause a kerfuffle, right? Like, you put it out there to get people talking about shit. Jim didn't have to say anything. I think he thinks he did in order to do PR to cover his ass. But bro, you already took down the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel for a full day to private videos and stuff, and then put it back up. You went dark and then turned the lights back on. Don't come out and then make another declaration that you're not going to continue. It rubs me all the wrong way. The whole thing really did. I heard the news and it made me mad more than anything else. Like, looking at that guy, I don't know how empathetic people can be anymore. I don't know if empathy is a common thing, but you look at a man who's facing something like that, whether he did or didn't do inappropriate things. Honestly, he didn't. It doesn't sound like he did anything like Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein or anything where like these people raped children. He's not that kind of guy. He said some inappropriate things over DMs. Really? Block him on social media. Stop talking to him. Stop texting him. You're not like, you're not having him force himself on you digitally. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. But regardless of all of that, this man exists, and all these people do, the people that he names in his note, all they do is then they take the opportunity to try and destroy someone. And it makes me sick to be working or even just aspiring to work in an industry with a community of people populated by individuals like that. And that's been fucking me up for the past week.
And I think that's been
why am I
up a lot
fucking
of
doing
people.
this? You know, like, why are we doing this in an industry populated by people like that who maintain a network where they whisper to each other about other people and decide whether or not to try and ruin someone else's life? It made me mad. And then him reaching this place, you know, where he's at the end of his road, right? Like he looks at, he's like, there's no way forward here. So I'm just going to take my own out and fuck all of you. It made me mad. I felt that righteous indignation, and there was nothing to do with it, right? It just sits on you. There's no movement because I can't change any of this. You know, I can't talk to these people and tell them what they've done is wrong. I can't go out on the internet and it's not even my place to do that, right? I don't know.
I gotta go. That's a good rant, though. Neff.
Sorry, Narwhal, man.
No, I was sticking out because I wanted to
Apologize.
hear it. But I agree. I can relate, and in some ways, I guess we're preaching to the choir or whatever. But it's still
Thanks,
good to
man.
power out a little bit to know what other people are thinking, because it is weird.
It is weird. Well, Naro, man, thanks for hanging out. I know you got another street. Do you want to let everyone know where you're going or what you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's a private. It's like, what do you call it? It's a private stream with some people.
OnlyFans. Cool. How long you been doing that?
Yeah. No, it's a little audition with some actors for a little short film. So I'm messing with that.
Oh, awesome.
All right, man. Well,
Congratulations,
good luck with
man.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'll see you
All
guys
right,
later.
cool. All right. Well, Frank, man, let's talk about, on this, we'll get off this topic of Mr. Piskor, but
Sure.
so you got your Kickstarter up right now. You got 5 days to go. We've got Undead Evil #1. What I'll do is I'm going to play this campaign video. I'm also going to pop up, you've been working here.
Yeah, I mean, this
doing
is
some
for,
doodling.
this is for my other campaign that is we're in fulfillment now, but this is for Zombie Terrors #1. This is another one shot that we did, and this is kind of like this thing called Cosplay Sacrifice, where these couple of geeky kids go to a comic book convention and they're surrounded by cosplayers, and then the zombie plague starts happening, and they're like, are these guys cosplayers? Is it real? So, and he's got a crush on one of the cosplayers, and she turns, and it's like this whole story as they're trying to get this classic comic book that he's looking for. The zombie horde thing takes place. So this is kind of it. I'm kind of working on. I do it in Photoshop, and there's some roughs, and I do like the basic flat colors, and then I send it to the colorist. But I'll show you. Here's another page. This is and there's your character. I told Nile I put him in the book.
Nice.
So there's Nile as a zombie, and then a couple of the people were paid, a little extra to be in it. So these are some backers that are like the girl with the glasses is a backer, and so this is just kind of what. How I lay stuff out. It's kind of very
we got some criticism. It's too much hair to be Nile. It's too much hair.
It's very yeah, right. It's very I guess I was looking at an old picture though. I could adjust that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very like layer heavy. So I don't know. I wish I could. When I work in Photoshop, I always have like thousands of layers. But that's just kind of how I do it. But yeah, that's Zombie Terrors. That's what I'm working on here.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. I've been watching the little screen down here, like as you're working. It's pretty neat. But so how many campaigns do you have going on right now?
So
Is this the only live one?
I have Undead Evil #1 is live. I also have a thing on Backer Kit with me. I'm part of Pintopia 2, which is let me see if I have that. Hold on a second.
Here, while you're looking for that, I'm going to play your campaign video.
Yeah, go for it.
Very cool.
So it's kind of a quick trailer. I don't really like getting a lot with trailers and talking about it. Sometimes I do, but this one was kind of like quick because sometimes, I don't know, I think people just like to look at the book and look at the campaign. But this is something I started years ago, and it's like a Lovecraftian tale of this guy, Alfred Carter, who has a family in New Orleans, and, you know, Hurricane Katrina happens, and it, you know, kind of releases this curse. And then he's from New England, you know, where Lovecraft and all that mythos is. And he has to go down to New Orleans and try to defuse this curse because a ancestor comes to him in a dream and tells him he has to go down there. So like he goes down there and finds all these secrets, and there's voodoo, and there's like demons, and there's possession. And so, and the artist Nenad Gusunja is from Serbia. He's been great. We've got him in heavy metal. He did a bunch of stuff for us. He did short stories for us. He was in some of the Satan books we did with Robert Ryan. Ben Olson did the cover. He's a video game concept artist. I started in 2008. And again, it's like, you know, work comes into it. I do storyboards and I can't finish stuff, and it just drives me nuts. And finally I was like, I've got about almost 60 pages done. So like I've got the first, second, and into the third issue done. So I'm like, let me just put this up. It's already been solicited through Diamond, so it's going to come out in comic shops. But let me just put it up there and see what happens. So,
yeah, I love the interiors, dude. It's so fucking haunting.
That's one thing I like about some of the European comic artists is they don't look like anyone else. If you look at guys from like Poland or Serbia or Eastern Europe, they have this unique style that just, I don't know where it comes from. You know, a lot of French guys kind of have the Mobius thing, or, you know, but Eastern Europe, you really find unique talent. And I don't know, I forget how we found Nenad. I think Robert Ryan found him. I can't remember, but yeah, he's good. He's real good. And we're just doing it in black and white. And, you know, you can scroll through some of the pages and you can kind of see, you know.
You know what I love about your books? You have that underground feel.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
all
if-
your books
if
have
you look
such
at-
that great underground feel.
If you look at Fearless Dawn in particular on the website, that really, with the flat colors, looks like and feels like those older 70s and 80s pulpy indie stuff. Like for real. I really like the what you can find on the website. This book looks like a lot of fun. The crowdfunding campaign looks good, but like for as far as Asylum Press go, there's a lot of offerings that you have that are very strong on the website. Yeah, just looking at the pages on the website from Fearless Dawn, like the Haunted Devil's Den, Fight looks straight up like Eastern European,
yeah, totally.
you know, Euro comic with the flat colors and everything, the way that it's so the posing and the exaggeration, just it looks really good and very purposefully done. High quality.
Great. And he's one of those classic comic book artists, you know, he draws everything on the page. I mean, sometimes he might do lettering later, but for the most part, he letters right on the page. He inks it. Everything's hand drawn. He might do digital coloring, but, you know, like with shorts, that's Fearless Dawn shorts. He did a color story. He did a black and white story. He did a fully painted story. And then he did a computer color. I mean, he just works in all these different styles and everything looks great. He's got a huge fan base and he loves like doing his own stuff. So yeah, that thing that you just showed, that was Fearless Dawn, The Bomb 2 and 3. That was in pre-order. We're fulfilling it now. But we're retelling the origin story. We put that out in a trade paperback in like 2010. It was called The Bomb, but we never put it out as Fearless Dawn, The Bomb. So people, I don't think they knew it was a Fearless Dawn comic. So we wanted to like reintroduce people to the character. So that is, oh, hey, Daniel.
Thanks, Daniel.
So 1, 2, and 3 were kind of like what was 1, 2, 3, and 4 when he did it on Indie Planet. And number 4 is coming out soon, and that's like a kind of an unfinished ending that was never published before. And then there is, yeah. So with Undead Evil, we have 4 covers. Well, we have 4 covers for what is it, $4.99, and then for $10 you get the extra sticker. That's the Kickstarter exclusive. And we have a regular cover, we have my cover, we have Nenad's pencil cover, a virgin cover, and then I think we have a couple of metal covers. But look at that stuff. I mean, it's
so
great,
awesome.
right?
I love it. It's incredible.
Just dark, weird, and you just don't see stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
He's from Serbia? Is that what you said? Your artist?
Yeah, like Croatia and Serbia.
That's awesome. Now, where can do you sell on your own website?
Yeah, you can just go to asylumpress.com and we have a store there, so you can find back issues. You can find the stuff that I did in the 90s, Vampire Verses. You could find the Satan books we did in the 2000s.
Warlash.
Yeah, Warlash, which I started publishing that like with CFD in the 90s, but took a break. So there's a bunch of those. Asylum of Horrors, Vampire Macabre is a vampire anthology which has some Tim Vigil work in it. So you can find everything at asylumpress.com. That's really where you can find back issues and stuff.
That's awesome. It's all the stuff. I love your stuff, man. I remember we were at Richie's a few years ago. You were back moving your mom from Connecticut to LA.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, we were just going through all this stuff. I mean, you've got this great campaign up. Again, everyone, the link is in the live chat. The link is in the description below. So for anyone that's watching this recorded, you can just look at the show description. It's there. Dude, talk a bit about, I mean, you've done so much. I mean, you worked on what you did storyboards on one of my favorite cartoons, Bob's Burgers.
Right.
You've done stuff for DreamWorks and like, dude, tell us a bit about your career. Let's get to know, let's dive deep into Frank.
Let's get to know Frank, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I started early on in the early 90s doing comics, and I always wanted to work, for Marvel and DC, obviously. And my first published work was in Cerebus Biweekly. Like I got one of those little one-page things. It was probably like 88 or 89. I can't remember. And I sent a bunch of, I would send out submissions just like everyone else in the mail. And I kept getting rejected. And went to a comic book convention upstate New York, and I met the Cry for Dawn guys, Monks and Linsner, and they were up there, and they had Fearless Dawn 1, I think, Cry for Dawn 1 and 2, I think, just came out. And, I'm like, oh, you guys, like, who's the publisher? And they're like, well, we are. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you are, like, you published it? You self-published it? And they're like, yeah, we self-published it. I'm like, you could do that? Like, I didn't even know really anything about, like, self-publishing. I knew there were publishers, but I was young. I was still in college. But I was young, and I'm like, you mean you printed? Like, I knew about printing, but I'm like, well, how do you get it out there? Like, oh, through distributors. They're distributors like Diamond and Capital City and all that stuff. I'm like, so you send in a solicitation, and then you get orders, and then you ship to the comic stores. I'm like, huh, I fucking do that. Like, that sounds doable. Like, and I was already like, I got like maybe 10 rejection letters. I'm like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm not gonna go around and keep getting rejected if I could just put the stuff out there and make a little money. And they were like, yeah, they were doing like 30 or 40,000 and making money. And I was like, I could do it. So we got together with some friends who had some money, and my friend Scott was going to college, and he knew Al Columbia early on, and we met Al, and Al did the first cover for us, the second cover, and he was doing comics. This is like right before he met Bill Sienkiewicz, and we put out From Beyond. We put out 4 issues of that, and that was kind of my introduction to like, let's just do it ourselves. Like, why get rejected when you can put it out, get distribution, have a mail order, and do all that stuff? So I did that for quite a while, but in the end, like, I couldn't make a whole lot of money. So worked with CFD, I worked with Boneyard, Hart Fisher. I put some indie books out through those guys, and I formed Asylum Press in '99. But the whole time it was really difficult. I would say it was not easy for me to make money. And even then I was submitting to like Fantagraphics and Marvel, and I could just never get work. So I got a job in Connecticut at an animation studio, and I kind of learned animation there, right? I learned how to do 2D animation, cleanup, inking, coloring, and worked there for a while. When we got laid off, the company kind of went from 2D to 3D. I took some classes, and then I realized, hey, storyboarding, that's kind of like comics, but it's drawing, but you could draw loosely and you can work in film and animation. I'm like, I could do that. Like, I didn't even know it was a job until I worked at that company. Like, oh,
what was the company in Connecticut that did animation?
It's called Funny Bone Interactive. They're not there anymore, but they did like edutainment video games. A lot of people like came out of there. Dan Thompson, who's a really famous cartoonist now. He does like daily strips. Mark Covell works on Family Guy. Howie Perry directs for DreamWorks. Phil Straub is a big AAA gaming art director. Like, a lot of people came out of there and have done like a lot of stuff. It's amazing. Like, you would have been stuck there doing like preschool games, and then just because it forced you to like, hey, I got to make something in my life. Like, it was a very like, oh, I'm cool here. Like, this is good money. I'm in Connecticut. You know, I'm not really doing great stuff, but yeah, I could just live here, and the rents are cheap and we're making good money. But you could get stuck there. It was like a golden handcuff or whatever you call it.
Yeah, because I know I wasn't sure. Maybe this was after your time.
Yeah,
I know
Blue Sky was.
They were here. Well, they were in. I think they were in. Well, they were in Westchester or something, and then I don't know if they were in New York and then moved to Connecticut or something.
Yeah, they were in like White Plains.
Yeah.
New York.
Greenwich.
Well, no, they were in New York, I think, before they came to Connecticut.
They were in Westchester County, I think, and then they moved to Connecticut. But I think some people from Funny Bone went there. And then there was, who's that other animation studio? JJ Settlemeyer. He was right over the border there in New York. And that was an animation company that some people worked for. And he was kind of indie and did commercials and stuff for SNL. But I don't know. I moved to New York. I was living in Astoria for a while. And I'm like, oh, I couldn't find work there. I'm like, fuck it. I had friends that were moving out to LA. I'm like, there's film, there's horror movies, there's TV, there's animation, there's feature animation. I'm like, I'm just going to go out there. So moved out in 2002. And yeah, I've been here ever since. And it got me to going to Comic-Con, and that I never went to. I never was able to fly out there. And so I still dabbled in comics, but also worked in animation. I worked on a bunch of, recently I worked on like She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. I worked on The Nun 2. I worked on Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So I dabble in live action storyboards, but I also do animation, where I worked at DreamWorks on Three Below, worked on Solar Opposites. So I dabble back and forth. I mean, now with the strikes and everything, it's really dead, which is like nobody's working. So it's not great. So it's giving me time to get back into comics. So I am, crowdfunding stuff, and I have distribution through Diamond and Lunar, and we get the books out there. But, it's still like difficult. Like you guys know, it's hard to get really good numbers in comics where you can make a living at it. Even with crowdfunding, like if you're not doing 20 or 30,000, it is difficult. But, I just want to really put the books out and try to make it work, go to trade. Oh, then I worked as an editor for Heavy Metal too. I was there for from 2014 to maybe 2020, 2021 or something like that.
Is that when Eastman was still a part of it?
What's that?
That was when Eastman was still a part of it, right?
Eastman, I was there. Yeah, Eastman let me edit a couple of issues. I edited 271 and 277, and that was when they brought Grant Morrison in, and Jeff, like an investor bought it, and Jeff Krelitz came in and, kind of had some people buy it, and then they kind of changed things up. That was like around 280. And then there were some other people. So now they're in a black period, but they're trying to relaunch soon, I think. But that was fun. Like that was fun working for a mag that like inspired me, bringing people in, getting foreign shorts. So I was like mainly one of the short story guys. But I got the new Corbin thing in there. I got Pepe Moreno's Gene Kong in there. So it was fun. it was fun doing that stuff. So yeah, I have dabbled in a lot of different areas, but you know, I want to get back to like what I love in the 90s, where I could just sit in my studio. I would draw comics. I would go to the East Coast conventions in New York and Boston and Rhode Island and all that stuff. And it was really like, it was a different vibe. Like I'd go to a show, I'd sell a bunch of books and nobody knew who I was. Then comic stores wanted to wholesale stuff because they knew they could sell it. They didn't know who I was, but I don't know. It was just like, there was a fervor for independent comics back then. And I'd like that to come back or somehow be like it was. I know it could never be like it was, but you know, back then you had like Glenn Hammond, who was like Raw Comics, and you know, he was selling all that indie like Bad Girl stuff. Like you remember all those comics like Razor and Cry for Dawn and Faust and Night Vision, and he was a real champion for that stuff. And you know, I don't know where like that fervor went. Like I don't know if people are less excited about indie comics or they just don't get the distribution like they used to, you know. But sure, like if you're, like you said, if you're on Kickstarter and selling a book for $25, you can't sell that in a comic shop.
Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier with the barrier to entry into stores, right?
And I'm trying to tell people, like, if you're going to do a comic and you're going to spend, let's say, $2,000 on a print-on-demand run, why don't you spend that on an offset run and just run off 2,000 instead of 200? Yep. And they just can't, like, they're just like, I don't want to stock like 2,000 books and sell them. Like that's what we did in the 90s.
But that's not a lot of books either, man. 2,000 books isn't like a warehouse full of books. All these guys with warehouses, I'm like, how many books are you stocking? How many stacks of Geminis do you have? How much tape? Do you have a wall of tape in your warehouse? Because I have books, I fulfill books. I've got, you know, runs of 5,000 coming through my house. I have a 3-car garage. I don't need all that space for my stuff. The thing that I like about what you do with your books is you're selling $5 issues on your website, which I think is fantastic, and it prices them well within the range of consumer, you know, affordability. People can actually buy and read the comic. It's not an enormous financial commitment. And I could buy 5 of your issues for the same price as one of these crowdfunded books that's 48 pages. Yeah, right. Not only am I getting way more content, I'm getting way more variety in the stuff that I'm reading. Like you have such a variety of things on your site. The problem that infuriates me is like it lives online. It lives on asylumpress.com. I'm not going to encounter that in the local shop. And you're a successful guy, but there's a lot of other presses, small presses like you. The only place I'm going to encounter them are conventions, really, right? Well, word of mouth through a crowdfunding campaign, and then I'm still buying it on the website. How do we find it in brick and mortar?
Well, we do have distribution through Diamond and Lunar, even though we're not there every month. If you follow our website or sign up for our newsletter, you will be informed as to when you can pre-order books. So like Fearless Dawn, that all shipped to comic shops.
Yeah, so it's previews, right?
Yeah, it'll be in previews and the Lunar catalog. And we use some other, like we use Comics Mainstream and some other like indie distributors, and we ship direct to comic shops. So if any comic book shops are out there and want to order direct, we offer 50% wholesale. Yeah. We pay for shipping if any comic shops want to order books. So we do get out there, but because we're indie, we can't really be at monthly, and we can't be in every catalog because it's just too difficult. So you can pre-order us, and we do pretty well. Like we'll ship to Diamond. We'll do print runs of anywhere from 3 to sometimes 6,000. So that's pretty good for an indie. People say that's pretty good for
that's better than a lot of not a lot, better than some mainstream books that we've seen lose popularity. 3 to 6 is good. Like 5 used to be the bar, right? Like 5 was you have a very successful series that could run monthly for an extended period of time. It won't get canceled. It won't fall out of popularity. So 3 for indie to 6, you're already in mainstream industry numbers. I guess. I have a question though. Diamond and Lunar, very different philosophies right now for distribution. Which one, and I don't want to like blow up your spot, so if you don't want to commit to an answer, that's totally fine, but which one do you really prefer? Because I've spoken to a lot of shops, And there is a line in the sand when it comes to
there is.
wanting to support Diamond and Lunar, or I should say do business with Diamond and Lunar. Like the shop that I go to, or I used to go to locally, you know, they suffered through their relationship with Diamond, and they were really excited to bring Lunar on. But as far as like payment schedules, it became an issue, at least on the retailer side of things. What's it like being a studio, a publisher going through Lunar? Do you have a preference between Diamond and Lunar?
No, not really. I mean, I've been with Diamond for a really long time. And yeah, I like Diamond, and I really like starting publishing in the early 90s when there were like, I don't know, 10 distributors. You know, there was Styx, Heroes World, Capital City, Diamond, Friendly Franks. I mean, you got so many orders, you almost couldn't even use every distributor. You're like, that guy's only going to give me 1,000. I'm not even going to use them. It was crazy. So the more distributors you have, the better. So I will always use
20 years ago,
as many distributors. Like right now, we use Diamond, Lunar. I signed up for ICV2 Direct. I use Comics Mainstream and a couple other little guys that distribute kind of locally. But I think Lunar is very more friendly with reorders. It seems like I can ship them extra copies and they'll stock them, where Diamond will over order what they think the amount will be. But comic shops don't like to reorder from Diamond because the process isn't very retailer friendly.
Yeah.
But supposedly they really like ordering from Lunar, and I could see the reorders happening and they get paid. I'm like, oh, this works out. This is what I remember Diamond being like in the mid 90s, where you'd get reorders all the time. Diamond, for us, we're little. I never see like a reorder. Hey, we need 50 more copies, unless it's a trade though. And I use Diamond Books for trade. So we also do trades through the bookstore distribution. So we are like expanded in that sense. But
any inroads into like the book venues, like the book sellers, the big box bookstores like Barnes and Nobles, or going through, you know, into other book vendors in that regard? Have you tried to like pursue that, or is it still mainly comic shops and distribution channels like Diamond?
Yeah, no, we were with SCB Distributors for a while. They're a bookstore distributor, but I decided to go with Diamond Book Distributors because they're with Diamond and it's kind of like a seamless process. But the way that works in bookstore, it's like a 9-month lead time. You can kind of look it up, but you present your book, you previews just like Diamond solicitation, but it goes out way before. And Diamond's booksellers, you kind of talk to the big chain buyers like Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. Yep. And then you also talk to the indie stores can order it too. But you also, that's an inroad to libraries. Let's say you have a natural history type book that could go to museums, natural history museums. Like there's inroads to other venues that comic shops don't have. So if you have like a comic lit book, you might want to get into libraries, college libraries. You know, you can sell a lot of books if you know how to market it correctly. Right.
I'd love to see Fearless Dawn at a Scholastic book fair.
Great. Yeah. But yeah, Fearless Dawn could do well at Barnes and Noble or Books A Million, where there's a place where people don't have a comic shop or something. You know,
it's very different too. It's not your traditional kind of comic art, so it stands out in that regard.
But yeah, I don't have like one or the other. I wish there was a third and fourth distributor. The more distributors you have as a comic publisher, the better orders you would get. So I like having both, and it has boosted our orders, so it's fine with me. You know.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard a lot of different stories between like Lunar and Diamond. You know, a lot of guys feel Diamond still handles the books the best as far as getting safely to the stores, getting people paid. But then they feel that, you know, their system's very antiquated. You know, they need to update their system. Lunar has a good infrastructure there, but, you know, they feel they still have a lot of work to do in order to fine tune their machine. But, you know,
I'm here. Sorry, my
wife. Oh, no worry. And, you know, I think it definitely though, like exposure, right? Like there needs to be some type of thing to bring people into like the indie comics, because
Yeah,
when you
dude,
go to the conventions and stuff, it's all about the mainstream, whether it's movies, television, it's still the mainstream comic artists. You know, if you go to a lot of these shows, you got like small press areas, and you know, again, it's like people kind of walk through, but it's still there's not as much as excitement in those areas. Like it'd be cool to get like some like new guys doing shows that were like focused, like bringing back those like hotel conventions, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
getting indie con. We just had that one here in Connecticut, the what was it, Indie Comic Con or something like that?
ICV3, yeah, Indie
Yeah.
Comic Book Creators Convention. And,
how was that?
it was actually put on by Comics Wellspring in conjunction with the guy, the
Okay.
organizer.
Yeah.
Cool.
They sponsored a big portion of it, and LKC was there too. They helped organize. It was actually really cool. It felt like almost like a trade show for indie comic book creators,
Cool.
and it was also like a great place for comic book fans to go to get alternative to I guess what you would find in the stores, because very little there was being offered in local shop, well, anything other than local shops. Like
Right.
there's no
Yeah.
national distribution for that stuff. So it was fun. It was like, you know, meeting
Where-
people that are kind of in the same situation, making
Where
stuff.
was it?
They had it at Yale.
Oh,
Was it
cool.
Yale? I thought it was it Yale or was it Southern?
I thought it was Yale.
I thought
I'm
it was
not
Southern.
entirely sure. I got in the car and I got driven there while I was doing
It
stuff.
was
so I really didn't pay
Southern.
attention.
It was at
was
Southern
Southern?
Connecticut State University. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think everything, like I went to Small Press Expo in Baltimore a couple times, I think in the 90s, and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if we exactly fit in, but do they still have that one on the what's that turnpike up there in Connecticut? I think the bookie used to put it on.
The
You remember
Berlin
that
Turnpike?
show?
Oh, the Berlin Turn. It's off the
Turnpike.
Berlin Turnpike.
Yeah, did that show still happen?
Yeah, that's like a I mean that's really more like retailers go there, you know, guys
Right,
that
but when I would set up in the 90s, I'd go there and you'd be the only creator. You'd do pretty well because there were, you know, comic book fans looking to buy comic books. So it was kind of cool. Like sometimes you could do small shows and do pretty well, where at Comic-Con you can get kind of lost and people aren't even there to buy comic books, you know? So I think as a comic creator, you do have to do like all that stuff. Like Brian Pulido would say, I'd have just as much enthusiasm about doing a comic book signing where there was like 5 people, or if there was like 50, or a small show versus like Comic-Con. So I think it's a matter of like having the excitement, being able to pitch the book, and, you know, just doing what you can to get the stuff out there. But yeah, I know I think the turnout at these shows are kind of smaller than they used to be. As I remember in the 90s, like there was less video games, there was less streaming, there was like less distraction, you know.
Oh yeah, well that's what, you know, comics were a huge form of entertainment. I mean, that's again like you would literally, I mean, even in the 90s you could go to the drugstore, you could go into like, you know, the quick stops, things like that, and there was spinner racks still. You know, you would still buy, you know, books at, you know, comic books at grocery stores, at, you know, like I said, all these different places carried it. You know, even some liquor stores still had them, you know, in the 90s and stuff. And then it completely phased out. But yeah, you've got streaming, you got video games. You know, a lot of people complain about a lot of stuff, but I'll tell you the number one killer of comics is video games, because everyone's like, you got to get the young people involved. You got to get young people in comics. Why? Why do they want to sit there and read a piece of paper when they can have their adventure virtually on a screen where they put their headset on and they've got 6 of their friends playing a live comic book or playing a live motion? I mean, video games do better than movies. I mean,
Dude,
they're like the number one
ADD.
source of entertainment, man. You know,
It's ADD. That's the problem.
But look at the manga growth. Like, look at how many young people are reading manga. They devour that stuff. It's just that
because it's all encompassing. It's all encompassing. You have the manga, you have the anime, you have the movies. I mean,
you have the merch, you have the cosplay, you have the culture. There's a whole immersive element to it. Like, look at One Piece,
girls. Right? I mean, it's
right. There's a whole culture online too, where people have this fandom that they bond over these large scale events with all of the different, you know, mangas that are popularized. You got Demon Slayer, you had Berserk. I mean, like you have people bonding over this thing. Something like, Spider-Man, while it's big, it's one of those few, corporate comic titles that people acknowledge and are aware of, but it's not fun the way
That's the
manga
thing.
and anime and video games and cosplay
Right.
and all that other stuff is fresh and fun. It's youthful. There's
It's
exuberance
actually,
to it.
and it's escape. I was like an
Closest thing you had was
anti-manga guy.
Miles.
And yeah, I was like anti manga and anime. I was like, I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. And it was only like up until about 2 years ago, I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And I started diving into it.
Right.
And with all the issues in comics, with all the politics, with all the agendas, right? You start getting into these stories. Like right now, the anime I'm watching is Kingdom, and it's all it is it's war. It's
Right.
war. I get to just watch these armies slaughter each other with a
The
great
army scenes are
storyline.
fantastic.
It's awesome. And
dope.
but there's no like agendas. There's nothing making me feel like I'm being forced. And that's what it's about. Chainsaw Man. It's about a kid who wants to touch boobs. Like his motivation is
It's
touching
so much
boobs.
more
Like,
than that,
it's
but yes,
so much,
that's
but,
your
yeah,
entry.
it's so
That's
much-
your entry point. Like
Yeah.
that's the character. You look at him and you're like, I understand Denji. I get where
Yeah,
he's coming
I get
from.
it. I
He's a
wanted to
kid.
touch boobs.
He's a loser. He wants to touch boobs. He's been crapped on his whole life. Now he's got chainsaw powers. It's a weird world. There's demons. All right, I'm in. I'm sold. And you go for that ride, man. And the book, the manga, the twists and turns in it, the betrayals, like it's very dramatic, but the drama isn't some manufactured real world drama with
Yeah, it's
people
just
being petty and
storytelling.
stupid. It's
Right.
really good storytelling. And then when
Yeah.
you add in the animation element in the anime and
Right.
the additional layers of culture on top of that, it takes on its own life. And we don't have that in American comics. And it's like,
No.
look, I got into an industry that's on its way to its deathbed. Yay.
And when they adapt too, like, so I watched Chainsaw Man. We'll use that as an example. I watched it before I read it. And then I read it and I'm like, wow, they actually just adapted it. Like they
Right.
110% accept and adapt the source material. No changes.
No changes.
Like there's
yeah.
literally no changes. The manga is the storyboard. And they
Right.
just
That's
take
also
that and they
because
animate it.
the studios work so closely with
Yeah.
each other. The anime studios and the manga publishers are like they're next door to each other. You know what I mean? Like they work in that same in the same culture there to maintain the continuity. It's not like you're suddenly going to get major changes to characters that will upset the entire expected product. You're not suddenly going to race swap or gender swap or alter by removing integral characters or even fan favorites. You're not going to completely upset the culture. Look at Cowboy Bebop, right? Look how divisive Cowboy Bebop was. And the only reason it's divisive is not because people are sexist, racist, istophobes, or any of that. It's because we've come to expect a certain thing when we tune into Cowboy Bebop. And when you're not going to give us that thing, we're not going to tune into Cowboy Bebop because it's not that. No matter what it is, you could turn it however you want to change it, whatever. We want the thing we want. We're fans of the thing, and you're changing that thing regardless of how you're changing it.
Right.
When you have a manga and an anime, they don't change those things. It goes to Netflix. Netflix isn't one of those studios that's next door. You know what I mean? Like they'll take something and adapt it and change it and alter it and everything, and it loses that standing within the culture. And you look at the only thing that I think that was most successful recently was One Piece, right? The One Piece fandom embraced the live action. They loved it. But that's the thing. If you don't get the fandom, there's a whole culture that adheres to the thing, the IP. They love it. They're the ones that keep it alive. And Japan recognizes, hey, we have a fandom to satisfy. These are the people, like, we could just hold up something that says One Piece on it, and we've got a line up to the door for them to buy it because they love it. And that's what they satisfy every time they make something. We in the West, we think that we can change the audience. You don't get to change the audience. The audience changes you, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, you're serving the audience. You don't get to tell them what they can and can't like.
Well, One Piece, the live action adaptation did so well, and that one actually was they stayed really close to the source material. Actually, and a part of it, I thought one
Dude,
character,
it
I was
was
like,
not
oh,
bad at all. I
it was
liked
not bad
it.
at all. But also, the creator of One Piece made sure he had say in that live
Some
action
say,
because
yeah.
of how bad
Right.
Cowboy Bebop did.
Cowboy Bebop was, yeah.
But again, I mean, we had that at one point. If you look back at the 90s with, the X-Men cartoon and Batman the Animated Series, it started to merge the world of comics and animation. And then they started actually taking, the stuff from the cartoons and putting them into the comics so that when you went into one, form of entertainment to the other, it kind of matched. Like characters started to make sense. Storylines were being adapted. Bruce Timm had say in some of the Batman comics. Jim Lee was adapting things from the animated series and Kubert and all of them, and they're bringing that into the comics, so we were getting that mix of everything. But now,
then
even
it
with the
bled
new
over into the games with Arkham.
bled over into the
and
games,
then
yes.
suddenly you had this beautiful triangle where no matter where you went, you could immerse yourself in Batman. Right. And there was a continuity to it. And even when there was a different storyline in the games, there was the acknowledgement of that on the part of the fans because the people were being served by giving them what they wanted. Like when,
like even the Fantastic Four movie that's going to be coming out. Like they announced
I've
a
stopped
female
paying attention.
Silver Surfer. It's like
I don't even know anything about it.
Why? Like, okay, there was this female Silver Surfer at one point, but why do you have to make it a female Silver Surfer now? Like again, they keep trying to tailor to audiences that don't exist, and
that's the big thing.
That's the thing.
That audience doesn't exist. They want
it's
it
just
to,
like
or they think it
need,
does, or it should.
We need it to be female. It's like, well, no, just have Silver Surfer be Silver Surfer. Just honor what Jack and Stan did. If you adapt it, you did it once before, people. You did it in 2008 with Iron Man. You did and again,
X-Men too. X-Men was
the only people that they should be making Silver Surfer for right now are fans of the Donny Cates series, the Silver Surfer Black series that was just out, because that's the last thing that sold Silver Surfer.
Right.
And that the people that bought that series are fans of either Donny Cates or the character. I mean, I have Silver Surfer #1. I used to read that when I was a kid. I loved Silver Surfer. Dude, Norrin Rad. He had a surfboard. He surfs in space. His silver skin. That shit was dope, man. And that led for me to stuff like, Solar, Man of the Atom, or Nexus, or any of these other like cosmic level superheroes that were out there. And it was a whole kick that I got.
What did I start with my question? These guys are going nuts right now.
I mean, that's the thing with your fans, right? You want to appease the fans, not try and guide the fandom. You let the fandom exist and you serve that thing.
As indie publishers, I think we're all trying to find out where's our fan base. And even though I kickstart, like I'll get 260 backers, that in my opinion, that's not a huge amount that's going to like change. I don't know, like it's not building a huge fandom, I mean, it does help with raising funding, but I thought Kickstarter, I would get like 5,000 or something, but you look at all the campaigns, nobody does that except like Neil Gaiman, or Polito will do like, maybe I think he has like 3,000 backers. And I'm like, well, why don't those guys come to my thing? And you can't, after doing 10 campaigns, I'm never going to get 1,500.
Well, Kickstarter also isn't going to necessarily be like, hey, you backed Lady Death, you may like this. Like they kind of try to put stuff in your face, but they don't want to be put in a position where it appears of a favoritism, even though they do it.
But they suggest stuff. No, I get a lot of new people within Kickstarter, more than like running ads or, even from my newsletter. So they are doing something right, but it's just not, the numbers aren't there. And that's why people have to charge 30 or 40 bucks a book, because you're only going to get 250 backers. How do you raise 30 grand? You have $50 covers. It's like if you told a guy to say, hey, bring your price down to $5, they wouldn't make any money. So I get why they do it, because they need to raise 30 grand. So you need $50, limited covers. But I don't know. The only way to get more people to read your books, you have to be in comic shops and you have to be in bookstores. I don't know how to bring those people in. There's manga readers. Maybe we could bring them, but maybe just the reader base.
YouTube's a great source. I mean, you have Goon Cartoons. You have 269,000 subscribers.
Right.
Like, are you promoting these campaigns on that channel?
Everyone, but like YouTube's algorithm, like I built a lot of those because I put a lot of public domain cartoons up there. Betty Boop, Fleischer, all this shit. And for the longest time, they allowed you to monetize public domain cartoons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was making a little bit of money from that. But recently they were like, you have too many public domain cartoons and not enough original content, right? So they demonetized me. Like right now it's demonetized and I have to get there because they really want you to put up original stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, I've been doing this since 2006. So there's all sorts of little shorts, anime. Like you could play the new one. I just put that up Sunday, actually. It was funny that you asked me about it because I hadn't put up in like 6 months. But here's the thing is like, those 270,000 subscribers are people that mainly came for the Betty Boop, the 1930s stuff. So look, when I put up a new cartoon, it doesn't have 10,000 views. It has 500 because YouTube is saying all those subscribers, they don't really like this stuff. They like the old stuff. And now that we made you take it down, you almost like got to start from scratch.
Yeah, well, you can see the Betty Boop here, right? It's from 5 years ago, but it's got 56,000 views. And then your one from 3 days ago has 609.
In my Betty Boop cartoons, some of them had like 5 million views.
Yeah.
Right? It was
so
crazy.
Do you think now because of what you were doing, you're kind of like shadow banned? Like, is this not getting through to? Because if you look at like Meat Canyon and all these other, obscure animated shows that do original content, I mean, they do extremely well. A lot of people like cool.
But that's all they see. That's all they did, though. That's all they did from the start. So all of their fan base came for that stuff. Mine was split. I was doing a little bit of the old stuff and my new stuff. And even from the beginning, Betty Boop cartoon would get like 1 million views. Whenever I put up new stuff, it'd get like 1,200, 2,500. Now there's a Cuphead video there. I think got like 15,000, but it's almost like I got to purge. Yeah, 42,000. And that's because look, it's a known character. It's like I'm doing a Cuphead parody, right? When I do the original stuff, it's like starting from scratch. Like I got to put up content every day and rebuild the audience that just wants to see like the Adult Swim type cartoons. You want to play the Why Me? You might like that. It's kind of inspired by a little bit that they did on Howard Stern. Why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Why is everybody getting on my back? Get off my back. Get off my back. It's always the same crap, different day. Everybody's on my back. Why is all bad stuff always got to happen to me? What I do? What I do? What I do to you? What I do to the world? It's always me. It's always happening to me. I never done nothing to nobody. I never hurt nobody. I never talk bad about nobody. It's always the bad stuff, the bad karma happening to me. Why me? Why me? What I do? What I do? I wake up in the morning and it starts. The alarm didn't go off. Then I put the coffee on and the guy burnt the coffee and then the electricity doesn't work and then I put the TV on and the channels don't work. I get
Sounds
all
like my mom.
Everybody knows somebody like this, right? And then I got a back pain and I got the back pain all day and then I'm trying to walk and my feet hurt. My feet hurt. My feet are swollen and I can't get up. And then
are you doing the voice?
I drink the coffee. Yeah, that's me. Milk is bad. I go to put milk in my coffee and the milk is bad. It's always happening to me. Why me? Why me? What I do? What I do? I never did nothing to nobody, and all that always happens to me. Why me? Why me?
The car horn in the background.
Yeah.
So that's like I try to do these little things that are mainly dialogue friendly because animation does take a while to do. So I try to keep them simple, but I want to do more of it. It's just like it's another side of me, like because I worked in animation and Flash, like I I just know the pipeline and I know how to do it. And I kind of like have all these little ideas, so it's more stuff that I want to do. And yeah, like zombie terrors, like I didn't put Undead Evil up there, but, I was doing book looks and, every campaign does go up there, but like, look, 562, you'd think it would get like 15,000 views, but it doesn't. So,
well, have you tried starting doing like live streams on the channel and, getting other creators on, talking, trying to bring people in?
I think it was the same problem. Like, because it wasn't a Betty Boop cartoon, I didn't get that many people, so I was doing it for a while and I was all gung ho, but I think the main thing to rebuild this is to just start putting up the Adult Swim type animation and put up that stuff on a regular basis and try to rebuild the audience for that stuff. So they come for that stuff. And this is another campaign I've got going. BackerKit does a thing called, they have a crowdfunding platform too called BackerKit Crowdfunding, I guess it's called. And they're doing Pintopia 2, which last year they did, a bunch of guys that do enamel pens. And these are based on some of my paintings and the cartoony style that I work in. And these are some new pins and some old pins. So if you guys are into enamel pins and want to support, I have some new stuff, some back stuff. I have some Lovecraft pins, but it's kind of but see, again, like some people, like they've raised 743,000 and some people are doing like 5,000-6,000. I thought, oh, for sure, this will be great. I'll raise some money. But look, 21 backers, 300. It's not that much, and they're promoting the heck out of this,
Yeah.
So it's just difficult. I don't know if it's like the economy and stuff, or just people don't know me. And I'm on social media every day with this stuff, newsletter, Facebook, everywhere, and I think it's just difficult cutting through maybe Facebook's algorithm doesn't get it out there, but it's difficult, man.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. One thing we've learned is the YouTube has been an amazing tool in promoting, a lot of it's for like TUCCI'S books and stuff that we do on here, but the YouTube stuff has been really great. Just creating this whole network of, we all have these shows going on, we're live right now, there's, all the big names are also live, so we're competing with them. But I mean, it works. It does work. Collaboration is key. A big time manager for a lot of the big YouTube stars, his thing is like, they'll tell you collaboration. Collaboration is key on YouTube to grow your brand and what you're doing. Right. And that's just kind of like where it's at. Facebook, all that stuff. They want you to pay for the ads whenever you start adding links or things, and we can try to defeat the system and break it, but I mean, it only works so much. I would do posts and they'd get great views and I'd put links in it, then they died down. Then I was like, oh well, I'll do a post and then I'll put link in comments and those would do great. Now I'm noticing those are slowing down again. So it's like, let me post a picture of a cat and see what happens. And 5,000 followers are love it.
Right, dude. I'll do that. I'll post my cat pic and it's like, boom. It's crazy. So here's
priorities, man. That's what it is. Priorities.
Because they let people actually see it. Like, oh, a cute kitty with a yarn ball.
Here's a question for you guys, because obviously I want to sell more comics and I want to build that fan base specifically, right? So I was doing book looks and I was doing live draws on Goon cartoons, but I also have the Asylum Press YouTube channel that has about, I don't know, maybe 300 viewers. Like if I was going to go on and do a live draw or look through comic books, kind of like the kayfabe guys do, or just talk to other creators, should I start another YouTube channel that's just like a comic book channel, or should I just have a playlist on Asylum Press where it's kind of part of the publishing? Like, does it really make sense to start another YouTube channel that's like a comic book like review channel, or should it just be part of Asylum Press and just be like a playlist?
That's tough to say. Because so I've been looking at a lot of things like this show, Crowdfunding Comics. I'm probably going to do the last one tomorrow night, like the official, like solely dedicated, like promo show. And what we'll probably do is we're trying to work the algorithm, because the views on it are getting less and less, and that's across the board. It's not just our channel, because our other videos do really well. Our interviews with mainstream creators, our Thursday night lives, the fun streams do very well. So it's like you got to kind of you have to see what the fans are wanting and adapting. And it's like, all right, they want more conversations. They want funny stuff. They want opinions, throw in a campaign plug, a 10-minute plug in between like a commercial break or something, do that stuff. And I've toyed with the idea of even starting another channel just to see how it grows organically with no ties to anything. When we started this channel.
What would that channel be about though? That would be like
well, it would be, I was thinking of doing like some kind of documentary style stuff, like quick 15, 20-minute documentary styles. Like I'm in the process of doing it right now. It's, from, Kmart employee to animation legend. It's about Bruce Timm. It's going to be about, 18 minutes or so. And I'm still contemplating, do I continue? I'm always going to continue with Pop XP. There's no doubt about it. But I want to see growing something completely organic, with no ties to anything, no hashtags associated with it for anything. I want to see, because I do think there is shadow banning with keywords and being affiliated, just like people can do chain blocks and stuff like that. I think that, certain things have affected certain channels. So that's kind of a social experiment.
Yeah,
or I may just continue adding those concepts I was thinking about doing on this second channel to this channel. It's just a whole fucking mess, this stuff. It used to be easy. Now it's very, very hard to do.
I like when Nile lets his hair down, even though he has no hair. I like when he goes, it's a fucking mess. I like that.
Yeah, it is.
Be honest.
It's a mess. Because, too, like, you have to look at, we've dealt a lot with in the CG realm. Our channel, because you have like factions, right? You have Comic Skate, more heading towards against SJW creators and stuff, and then you have your other creators or whatever. This channel has always been open to, like, if you're a cool creator, you can come on. We never really tied ourselves to anybody.
Yep.
Right.
Me too.
So it's doing that, but then also in this whole realm of doing YouTube, it's become extremely cannibalistic. When we started, Ethan had his channel. There was Pop XP, Malin. There was the guys that had their channels. It was great. A lot of our mods, a lot of our viewers started their own channels. Some of them became wildly successful, and I'm very happy for everyone, because if this is your passion, do it. And I've helped a lot of people set up their channels. But what has happened over time, and it's just by fault. It's no one's fault. It's just how the system grew. It's cannibalistic now, meaning that multiple people stream at the same time. So obviously the guys that do it better are going to get your viewers. And also what happens is we all have a lot of the same subscribers.
Yeah, right.
So,
it's shared
and a lot of people are like, oh, you're on, and they hop back and forth, which is great because they're just trying to show support. Yeah, but you have to grow outside of a bubble, because when you don't, you plateau at a ceiling very quickly. And that ceiling is very short. So you have to expand out. But what happens is, like, I looked at the analytics, and if you look at your analytics on your channel, you'll see like my what do you call it? Blah 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 blah. Whatever. Impressions. My impressions, meaning how many times supposedly our content's gone into people's faces, is almost 10 million. But I only have 5,000, almost 5,300 subs in 5 years. So it's like, that makes no sense. Because if you're going to say almost 10 million people are seeing our content, there's no reason I don't have 100,000 comic book fan subscribers. It makes no sense.
Do they exist?
Who even knows if these impressions are real, or if YouTube just gives you this BS? You know what I mean?
Are there 100,000 fans?
there has to be.
Many is what I'm saying.
There has to be, because there's genuine comic. Look at Cartoonist Kayfabe. They started their channel after we started ours, and they're almost to 100,000 subscribers. And after the piss score thing, they dropped like a couple thousand, but now they're even beyond where they were since he died.
I mean, I like what they do, because I like when they do like the comic book read-throughs and they discuss it. Like, that's a quick way, like, instead of doing an interview, like, why don't you guys do that? You have a ton of collection. You have odd comic books. Why not include some of that stuff? Then you can have, I think another thing with their channel is they were daily. You don't upload daily, right? And I think that YouTube likes that. If you can upload something every day, you're going to start building. But you can't just it's hard to do interviews every day.
Yeah, so that's the change too, is like doing this crowdfunding because this channel started off out called crowdfunding comics.
Okay.
That was our niche.
Oh, right.
And then we started bringing in more people that weren't necessarily crowdfunding. So then we had a little powwow and we came up with the pop culture experience and then changed it to Pop XP. And then that started to do pretty well. And it does actually, we have a lot of great content. We do. But like with this show, you have to look at, all right, if you're a content creator, you start having to say, okay, if things are starting to get less views, you kind of have to look at it, evaluate and say, is this method work anymore? It worked 5 years ago, but it's not working now. And it's a lot of time because I'll get, anywhere from 8 to 10 requests a day to come on the show. And before I would get everyone on, I'd be doing this show like 4 or 5 nights a week back in the day. And then I had to dial it back.
3. I couldn't do more than 3.
With a live stream, you can't monetize a live stream with ads, right? So if you record an interview or record you looking at a comic book and you put it up there, they'll run ads in front of that, and that could be passive income, right? But a live stream, even when it's up, it can't be. They never run ads in front of this.
No, they do. They run ads.
Do?
Yeah, if someone clicks on this now, it might play ads before it actually gets to the live stream.
And then later on,
plus you can get super chats. You can make more money with a live stream.
Yeah, I never made any money with any super chats, even on that other station. I don't know. I just never got into where I had like 500 people all like trying to talk to me. I would do a live stream on Goon Cartoons. I did it for like a month. I'd have like 2 people in there.
Yeah.
With like 250,000 subs, I'd have 2 or 3 people in there.
Yeah. See that again? Are they getting the notification? I got a question here. What's this? From Down Goes Solo. Do you have a show for first-time creators, Nile? Launching soon and could badly need a boost. This is the show. Crowdfunding Comics is the show where we would do it. But unfortunately, it just doesn't get a lot of views for the time it takes to set up these shows. Because the process is, we get the requests. I have to vet the creator. I have to review product. I have to review the campaign. I have to make sure it's something we can put on the stream that I believe in. Because essentially, I'm saying you need to check out this campaign. Before we would get, thousands of views. Now we're down to, 150, 200 views. So we're still going to be bringing people on. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be less than what we have, because we'll do shows with fun topics and things and segments, and then we'll bring people on to talk about those. So there's that. And then I'm thinking, another thing I was thinking of doing is maybe taking a day, sit in the studio for like 3 hours and maybe take these newcomers on. So if Down Goes Solo needs a boost, well, all right, come on. We're going to record a 10, 15-minute plug for your stuff, and I'll just throw these up as recorded videos. And then if people want to check it out, they can do that. So we're trying to work out how we can still kind of keep the core of what this channel started out to be, but we're also going to adapt to what viewers want, because unfortunately you have to. Otherwise, it gets stale. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I still run a promo show talking about crowdfunding and comic books with people. I'll still do that. I never did it.
You're on YouTube? What's your channel?
Yeah, I never did it for like viewership or for income or anything. It was mostly to literally just talk to creators about what it is they're doing, and if people want to watch me do that, then cool. We only have channel? Like 50 viewers. It's Global Frequency Studios. We used to do a show 3 nights a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7 p.m. called Featured on the Frequency, but I haven't had time to do it lately. So we'll probably be doing that again. And Nile, if you want me to do that and port it over to you, I could do that. Like if you still want content talking to creators, because that was kind of
we're still gonna do it. I don't think I'm gonna do the dedicated show.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be more of like say like tonight's show. How I kind of put up some articles and things. Well, we'll dive a little more deeper into like some more things going on, talk about it, but then invite like Frank and Narwhal on and, send out an email like, here's the articles we're talking about. This is what we're doing. And then we're going to plug your shit in between.
Yeah, right.
And
I think
that's what we're going to do.
I like what the kayfabe guys do with like the history of comics and distribution. And I think,
Yeah, Tucci wants to do that. We've been actually talking about that for 3 years.
I think it's a good idea. I think that's what people come back to watch for, because you're giving them kind of a lesson in the history of comics. And we were all there in the 90s, so we lived it. We like know all that stuff. It's just a matter of maybe looking through an old comics journal or what's that other Jack Kirby creator, and like getting some of the detail.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people love when kayfabe looks through, like they just did that Pepe Moreno book, and it's like I had that book when it came out. Like I love Pepe Moreno.
I've got a video I haven't posted, but I've gone through the first issue of Sketch Magazine. You know, like stuff like that. Like people, no, this is Sketch Magazine.
That's an old one, right? Yeah. Or remember Draw Magazine? I love that too. Yeah. Like that would be. I think that's a way to do like daily content.
Go through an old Malibu Sun, you know, their previews book. Totally. You know, I mean, there's we got a bunch of different stuff to do. I mean, again, it's that beast of creating content, because, you know, like you said, Neff, like, you know, you're just doing it to talk to creators and do stuff, but you want to build reach, right? It's just like your books. Like you want to sell more books. We want to get more viewers, because the bigger the channel can get, then if it allows me more time to work on content and bringing more people on, like yourself, Neff, to do content, then it's going to be, we want it to be like that one-stop shop where you can get comic book reviews, you know, see what's out there that you should be reading, you know, get opinions on all the fucked up shit that's going on, that they're ruining in our media, the stuff they're doing right in our media, you know, getting, you know, big time guests on to talk about what they do. The point of having like, you know, Rob Liefeld on, you know, John Romita on, they're good interviews, but you got, at the same token, these are people that have inspired us to be creators. So by having these interviews, I want them on to continue the inspiration, so that people can sit here, hopefully have a question answered if we can get to it. But like also those people are on to help motivate and continue to remind us of why we even got into comics and why we're creating comics, you know? So it's just the nature of growing. You know, you just have to adapt and try to, you know, inspire as well as entertain.
Yeah, totally. And I know, like, I don't hang out with that many comic creators, but like I've been talking with Hart Fisher and Tim Vigil. Like, if you guys want to hook up with those guys or interview those guys, I know they're like, Hart Fisher is definitely a good, lively interview. And then Tim is always good to talk to about the history of Faust and like technique. If you could talk to him about his technique and stuff, he likes to talk about that. But those guys are, you know, kind of indie, but still kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I just want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
fun chatting with you and catching up. And Neff, as always,
nice to meet you. I appreciate it totally. And then hang out later before when you shut off. I want to get some screenshots of your face for the book. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Shirt on or off? You want my shirt on or off?
You can leave the shirt on.
Are you sure? Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. I was going to give a treat, but what are you going to do? All right, guys. So tomorrow night, we'll be going live again with Crowdfunding Comics. We're going to be talking some Critter in Boston Metaphysical Society. So we got Tom Hutchinson on, and Madeline will be on to talk about their campaigns and their books. Boston Metaphysical Society is really cool. Critter has been around for a while. Tom has had some great success with that IP. So it's cool to see that he's still cranking away at it. But yeah, so that'll be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Neff, are you joining us for that one?
Yeah, I'll come on if you want me to.
You'll be all right. So it'll be me and Cara hanging out, and Neff, and
I mean, throw me the link whenever, man. I'll jump on with you. I always like hanging out with you and the Pop crew.
Nice. And everyone, thanks again. If you're new to the channel, please give us a subscribe and smash that bell to get notifications. And for all of you, check out the campaigns. They're in the description below. And as always, share those campaigns out. Copy and paste those links. Send them out on your socials. You may know one person. You might know 50 people who will back these books. Anything we can do to help out the indie community. And we'll see you all tomorrow night. And there'll also be a Thursday Night Live this week with Billy Tucci.
Great.
Not sure what he's he's a last minute guy with his topics. But I think he's looking to promote, she's going back to comic shops, and the new previews catalog is coming out, as well as the comics price guide with the She and Lady Death cover. So I think he wants to talk some more about that stuff. So again, everyone, thanks again for tuning in. The chat, you're awesome. Mods, you're great. Everyone have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP. and over on Instagram at the PopXP. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.